A Tampa-area, Florida mobile home and RV park. Above $5 million. More than 50 sites. Over 90% occupancy. Multiple income streams. On paper, it looks like a clean income story. Recurring income. Land control. Rent growth. Operational upside. The kind of asset many investors are searching for. But before an investor trusts the rent roll, one question changes the deal. What site risk is sitting behind that yield? Because this episode is not about whether mobile home parks are good or bad. It is about whether the park's site reality can support the income story. In this asset class, the income may look stable, but the site itself may be carrying the risk. The listing story. The listing story is easy to understand. A stabilized park, strong physical occupancy, strong economic occupancy, multiple ways to generate revenue, land rentals, RV income, park-owned home operations, potential lease-up, operational refinement, possible rent growth. For an investor, this is attractive because the income is visible. The numbers create a clear acquisition narrative. You can see the sites. You can estimate the rents. You can imagine the upside. And there is nothing wrong with that. A good listing should explain the income story. But a serious investor cannot stop there, because the listing tells you what the asset may earn. Due diligence asks what the site may demand. The rent roll versus the site. This is where the investment question changes. A rent roll can show income, but it does not automatically show the physical, environmental, and operational conditions that must keep that income alive. In a mobile home or RV park, the rent is not floating in the air. It depends on land, roads, pads, drainage, water, sewer or septic, electrical service, access, insurance, and the ability of the park to keep operating when the site is stressed. So the investor is not just buying income, they are buying the land exposure, infrastructure burden, insurance profile, resident continuity, and exit confidence behind that income. The rent roll tells the income story. The site tells the risk story. The Zone A signal. In a Tampa area case pattern like this, the surrounding area may appear to fall within Florida Evacuation Zone A. That does not mean we can automatically call it a FEMA high-risk flood zone. And it does not mean the park will flood. That would be the wrong conclusion. But it is a major due diligence signal. Because Evacuation Zone A raises the questions that matter before capital is committed. What is the elevation? How does the drainage work? What happens to roads and access after a storm? How are utilities protected? What does insurance cover? What is excluded? What happens to income if residents or RV occupants must leave temporarily? When you buy the park, you may control the land, but you also inherit the zone, the infrastructure behind the rent. This is why mobile home and RV parks are not only rent roll assets, they are site systems. The income depends on infrastructure that may not be visible in the headline numbers. Internal roads have to remain usable. Drainage has to move water away from the lots. Water systems must support residents. Sewer or septic systems must function. Electrical capacity must match the park's real use. Pads, hookups, access routes, and utility connections all matter. If these systems are weak, aging, undersized, or exposed, the investor may not just face maintenance. They may face downtime, resident disruption, insurance questions, repair delays, and capital expenditure. The income is visible. The infrastructure behind the income must be investigated. Why MHRV parks are different. A mobile home and RV park should not be evaluated exactly like a standard apartment building. The business model is different. Some income may come from long-term manufactured home residents. Some may come from RV sites. Some may come from park-owned homes. Each stream can have a different risk profile. Residents may create stability. RV turnover may create flexibility, but also more operational movement. Park-owned homes may increase revenue, but they can also increase repair responsibility. Cottages or single-family rentals may add income, but they also add maintenance. So the question is not only, how full is the park? What kind of income is this? And what must the site do to support it? The insurance and business interruption question in Florida. The insurance question cannot be treated as a footnote. Insurance conditions can materially affect the investment case. Not just the premium, the deductible, the exclusions, the renewal risk, the storm exposure, the timeline to repair after damage, the ability to restore roads, utilities, and services quickly. The risk is not only physical storm exposure. The risk is that the economics of the park may change when insurance, interruption, and repair exposure are priced correctly. A future buyer will not only ask, what was the occupancy? They will ask, what is this site exposed to? What will it cost to insure? And how resilient is the income if the park is interrupted? The due diligence advantage. This is where due diligence becomes an advantage. It is not there to reject mobile home parks. It is there to price the site risk before capital is committed. A serious investor does not collect documents just to feel protected. They test whether the income, the infrastructure, the insurance, and the exit story still work together after the site risk is priced. They review the evacuation zone signal. They verify FEMA flood maps separately. They check elevation, drainage, roads, utilities, water, sewer or septic, electrical capacity and access. They review insurance quotes, deductibles, and exclusions. They study leases, occupancy quality, resident continuity, and operating responsibilities. They ask what capital expenditure may be hidden behind the income. And they ask how a future buyer will view the same risk. Because the strongest investor is not the one who ignores risk. It is the one who prices it before acquisition. The real lesson. The real lesson is simple. A serious park investor does not only ask, what is the occupancy? What is the lot rent? What is the upside? What is the asking price? Those questions matter, but they are not enough. The deeper question is, can the site reality support the income story? What infrastructure must keep the rent alive? How does the zone change the investment questions? What will insurance, downtime, and future buyers say? A mobile home park investment is not only a rent roll acquisition, it is a site risk acquisition. The yield is not the full story. The site risk is part of the asset. Before you trust the yield, understand the site risk behind it.